All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We do have some data to cover, but it's actually at 9:45, so we don't actually have any just yet. Data PMI coming out at 9:45, existing home sales at 10 a.m., and then we have some Fed talks in the afternoon. So obviously we had a lot of stuff happen over the weekend. I put out a trade plan in the Discord, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But basically, the markets were probably anticipating more of a down move. At least I was. I was anticipating more of a down move with the U.S. Getting more directly involved in the conflict. But the market does not care. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about. I think it was last week or the week before. I was talking about how if you look at that graph that talks about how the markets have responded to these different conflicts over the last 100 years, they were responding much more negatively many years ago. But recently, in the last like 20 years, it recovers from these conflicts very, very quickly, and then it stops caring very quickly. It doesn't care about these conflicts for as long as it used to. And it seems like the market already does not care. It's kind of insane. We had that down move on the initial shock, the initial open, and then it instantly recovered. It filled in that gap within only a few hours, not too long. And now we're kind of trading pretty much exactly where we were trading, almost to the point. Let me actually fix my price line here. There we go. We're trading even a little bit higher than where we were on Friday. So the market genuinely does not care. And this is why we always talk about being more reactive, not as predictive, right? You don't want to predict too much. Because I think a lot of people predicting that this was going to nuke and they were taking bets based on that prediction, they're not looking too good. If you're being more reactive, then you can see the market doesn't really care too much. But okay, that gap has been filled in, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. Let's go ahead and mark up our trade plan for today. All right, so looking at above, let's say 40, we are going to look for that prior high around 72. And then where's our next level? 6102. Holding below 6006, we are going to look for, I'd say that prior node around 80 and then the low there. So we'll say 5980 and then 5959. As far as the day shape, we are actually kind of P-shaped because we had that gap down, but then we recovered it. We have a little bit of a bullish bias if we can stay inside of this kind of upper POC portion. But we also have a slight neutral bias because we are an inside day of Friday. So you could say we're neutral, leaning slightly bullish. All right, let's take a look at NQ here. We also filled that gap in. We'll go ahead and delete that. We're going to say holding above, let's say 21,950. We're going to look for that prior high around 131 and then 221. Holding below 773, we're going to look for, let's see here. I'd say where that kind of single print zone starts around 675, that LVN. And then the low at 566. And then same day shape. We have that P shape, but it is an inside day. All right, let's take a look at oil. Yeah, look at oil here. This is actually crazy. Oil does not care. It went up, I think, like 10% initially. It went up to like 78.50. It hit that kind of point of origin of that bearish impulse. And then we sold right back down to where Friday was. The markets just do not care that the US entered that conflict. So this is the second scenario that we talked about. We were talking about how there's a scenario where the market cares and it obviously shoots up, blah, blah. And there's that other scenario where if the US gets involved, the market sees it as like a way to end this conflict faster than being elongated for another few weeks, maybe a month, 2 months, whatever. So maybe the market thinks that this is going to be over a lot sooner than it was, but who knows, right? It's hard to say exactly why the market is moving the way that it moves. But all we can say right now is the market does not care. We'll see if that stays true on the cash hours. The overnight has not cared. It filled in the gap. Does the cash trading do the same thing? We'll find out here in a couple of minutes. By the way, we should hit 20,000 subs on this stream, so I appreciate you guys all subbing and hanging out and supporting the channel. It's awesome. It's a big milestone I've been trying to hit for a while. So I appreciate you guys all hanging out and supporting the stream. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, AT, Future, Leo, Max, Billy, Backpack and Techie, Lulu, Curtis, Roman. Good morning, Blake. Michael, Joan, Larry. Joan, by the way, check your Discord DMs. And Phil as well, if you're in here, Phil. Good morning, Larry, C-Mac, Michael, Eugenio, Adam, Gonzalez, Ken, Ronaldo, Jose, Mauricio, Onyx, Gregor's SW, Scott, Trevor, Unleashed, Software. Here's the open. A lot of sell pressure coming in so far. We'll see if that delta maintains. Keep an eye on the session VWAP if it does. Good morning, Zine, Ordinary, 2013, Christian, Friendly. It's you, Awareness, and OD. Good morning, everybody. Let me pin the trade plan for you. There you go. Remember, there is data coming out in 15 minutes, 9:45 PMI. A couple of headlines that came out overnight. Israel said that their objective was basically complete and they were looking to end this pretty soon, within this week. But Iran said they are not over yet. They're not done. And Iran said that the US will pay for that attack. Here's that session VWAP. 60, 12, and 817. Not a lot of sell pressure into VWAP here. Pretty decent node at 19, holding the pullback for now. Keep an eye on that tape, see if any buy pressure can hold above that 19 level. So far, that is not the case. Selling through VWAP on NASDAQ very easily. You had a pretty strong bounce on VWAP on ES. Breaking through it pretty easily on NQ. Oh yeah, how are those tankers doing? Let's take a look. I'm assuming not too great. They actually are. They're up 2 to 3%. So even though the market's not really caring too much about it, the tankers are preparing for the Strait of Hormuz to possibly be closed. Like I said in my trade plan video, I don't really understand that play, the closing the strait, but we'll see if it happens. It's like that meme with the guy riding the bicycle and he puts a stick into the tire and then he crashes. That's what I think about with Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz. Very strong sell pressure here, mostly on NASDAQ. Trend is very clean. You see the difference on the secondary push here? The first push down had basically no volume down here. Now we've got a ton of volume down here on ES. Breaking through VWAP. Still rotating Friday. Very close to finishing that rotation, going down to 06 or 07. Good morning, Dean. Good morning, Trent. Bit of absorption on VWAP here, mostly on ES. Obviously, we've already lost VWAP on NQ. The U.S. assesses that Iran may launch retaliatory attacks on American forces in the Middle East within the next 48 hours. I think last I checked, with all our bases in the area, I think the U.S. has 30 to 50,000 troops in the Middle East still. Very strong bounce off VWAP here. Delta not as strong as the price movement. The price movement is very clean. The delta is quite weak here. This could be a trap. If they don't start getting a lot more bullish delta or volume up here, you're probably going to come back down possibly to the 80 MA, maybe the daily VWAP. Yeah, so far, very strong bounce. That is an extremely bottom-heavy candle that's being quickly recovered. Oh, is he, Roman? Still not really seeing the delta up here that you would want to see for a move like this. Because two reasons, right? If it is an absorption trap, where they're absorbing all this bearish delta, then they're kind of trapping and squeezing them, then you would see the bullish delta because of that squeeze, right? They would be getting out of their positions. Or if it's a trap in the other regard, where the buyers are just so damn strong, they're pushing away from that level, you would still see the bullish delta as you were pushing up there. So we're not seeing the bullish delta in either one of those right now. What time is it? We have 4 minutes left. 4 minutes until the 9:45 data, so be careful if you guys are in trades here. Good morning, Angelo. Yeah, Trump is tweeting right now about oil. Good morning, Ryder. I need one person to sub right now. We're at 999. Somebody press the button. I'm going to leave that there until someone presses the button. Going to block the screen. All right, there you go. Thank you. Just had to bribe you a little bit. I appreciate that. Whoever pressed the button, you are now our 20,000th sub. I appreciate that. I should have taken a screenshot of 20K. Now I'll never get it. But no, seriously, I appreciate that, guys. We'll probably do some giveaways this week just to celebrate. Been a long time coming. All right, next stop is 100K. I'll see you guys in 10 years. Oh, that's true. I do have the recording. Yeah, I could go back and take it from the live stream. That's smart. No unsubbing. We're at 20,004. It's too late. You're locked in. All right, keep an eye on this move here. Here comes that data 945. Oh, Solo, we're well over 1 million views. It just doesn't show the videos that I've unlisted. So all the live streams that I unlisted, it takes away the views, unfortunately. And I unlisted, I think, like 1,000 streams. It was a ridiculous number. No, you don't start getting the YouTube buttons, I think, until 100K. That would be really cool to get one of those, like, plaques that they give you. I think 100K is the lowest they do. It might be 50K. It's either 50 or 100. What's funny is I thought they gave those to you. You have to buy them. So even though you get to like that number, it's not like a free thing they do for you. You still have to you still have to buy it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they have like a it's like a I've seen it's like a creator store or something like that. You might just have to pay for shipping, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, sorry, the data came out. Let's take a look at it. Pretty much as expected. They were right on the mark. 52.0 over 51.1. 53.1 over 52.9, so almost exactly as expected. This delta is still very concerning. I would say the delta is probably a little bit skewed because it is the first day of the new contract. Um, Friday was the expiration, right? So now everybody is forced to trade the new contract. So delta is a little bit skewed, I would say, but that's still a pretty big divergence here. If we don't start seeing some bullish delta into the value high, which is around 40, you're probably going to come back down. Keep an eye on that node. If they lose that node, you're going right back into rotation. So keep an eye on 29. If the tape gets back there, we'll see if you can hold that sell pressure at 29. Coming up on that overnight high at 39 here. Appreciate that, AT. Very, I don't know if you'd say choppy. It's not a very decisive day. You have 6 TPOs above the open, 6 TPOs below the open. A lot of indecision. Good morning, all. Appreciate that. Yeah, so we'll probably do some giveaways this week for the 20K. I'll probably split them up. We'll probably do some on the live stream and we'll probably do some on the recap videos. The recap videos will probably just be like, put something in the comments and I'll pick from there. Run them through a random name picker or something. Is this the last week of the month? It kind of is. Monday's the 30th. So you guys could probably start going ahead and sending me your that's probably a little early. I'll remind you guys later. Yeah, don't send them yet. I'll remind you guys probably on like Thursday. I was gonna say for the June raffle, go ahead and start sending me your receipts, but it's a little early. I'll remind you later in the week. Seems like one of those days where it looks like it's an initiative day. It looks like those breakout traders are the ones in control, but I don't think they are. I think the responsive traders are the ones that are controlling these moves. Notice how most of the buy pressure came in after this big pullback into VWAP, and then the secondary buy pressure came in on the pullback back to that ADMA. So they're buying the pullbacks, they're not buying the breakouts. The breakouts are still struggling. I wouldn't quite say it's so responsive that it's a vertical distribution. It's still a pretty decent uptrend. You're only lacking in delta. The volume nodes are good, the price action is good, the delta is lacking. There can't be single prints until 10:30, unless you're looking at prior day single prints or the pre-market. Oh, you're referring to prior day, yeah. Yeah, prior day, I believe we have one single print left on ES. Let me double check. Yes, we do. And we also have a poor high. So a couple reasons to go up here. Repair the poor high. Repair the single print. Do we have any afternoon breaks to repair? We do not. That has been repaired. That's repaired. And that is repaired. That is also repaired. You can see how good this afternoon strategy is. It's quite ridiculous. That's also repaired. That is also repaired. This doesn't need one because it's an inside. Here's the value high to finish that rotation of the inside day. Holding above 40 is attempting to break balance. Coming back into the FOMC levels, 47 and 72. Yeah, hey, if you go to my shorts, go to my YouTube shorts, and then type in afternoon reversal, and there's a short on it. Hey, BC, that's a great question. So you were asking about um, sizing and why should you size based on a set amount of contracts instead of like a percentage of your account? And that goes back to another thing that I talked about last week about futures being extremely leveraged. So when you think about futures and you think about starting your own account, you don't need to constantly build a futures account the same way you would build a stock account, right? In stocks, your whole goal is to constantly build that account to have more capital and buy more stocks and maybe have more dividends and yada, 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 right? But with futures, that is not the case. Because futures, you can hit a certain point where you don't need to have any more money in that account because you can easily trade the size that you want to trade. And even if you wanted to go above that size, you can easily do that. Because the way that futures are day traded nowadays is they require basically no margin. The margin is extremely small for how much money you have to have in your account in order to trade X amount of contracts. So you don't have to continuously build the account. So therefore, using a percentage of your account as your risk management doesn't really make sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, if you are building your futures account using the stock mentality, where you want to continuously build the account, and that affects your like daily profit, your daily risk management, then yes, you can do that. But I don't think most people who trade futures do that. I think most people kind of do it the way that I was describing, where you hit a certain amount. Let's just use 10,000. Let's say you started your account at 5,000. Let's say you want to hit 10,000. And then everything after 10,000, you're just withdrawing. So let's say you hit 15. You don't need to have $15,000 in that account. You can easily trade the amount of size you want to trade at 10,000. So that extra 5,000, that's just profit. You pull it out and then rinse and repeat. You get to 15K, you pull it out. You get to 15K, you pull it out. You treat it the same way you would treat a prop account, where prop accounts, you build them up, you take a payout. You build them up, you take a payout. That's how you treat futures accounts with your own money. That's the best way to do it. So you stop yourself from that never-ending, I need to size up and size up and size up. It's never-ending, right? I would not think of futures as you think about stocks. Now, another way you could do it, by the way, we're just still trending up here. Just keep an eye on the ADMA, doing a really good job holding on. Still have the same problem that we talked about earlier. The delta is very weak to the buy side here. Keep an eye on this upper node around 37, holding below 35, looking pretty weak. This is where my double node mentality comes in. If you start losing two major nodes on these trends, they start to get very weak. Yes, there is more data coming out at 10 o'clock, existing home sales. What was I saying? Oh yeah, another thing you could do is you have both mentalities, where you have the futures mentality where you're taking payouts, and then you have the stock mentality. So with your payouts, you put those into a stock account. Maybe it's a retirement account like a Roth IRA, right? Because Roth IRAs are post-tax. So you can put that money into a tax account, and then you can, a lot of bullish delta coming in here. Home sales were actually pretty good, 4.03 over 3.96. Now it is like peak buying season, I think. This summer does really well usually. But yeah, so like you could use your payouts to build up a stock account and have that money working for you. If you think about it, think about having $30,000 in a futures account. What is that money doing for you? Literally nothing. It is doing absolutely nothing. You only need, depending on your broker, the rates vary. But let's say you would only need $10,000, right? To trade most of these sizes that people are trading in these prop accounts. And this is why I don't talk about size on stream, because it's really hard to talk about because everybody has a different size based on how they trade, how much money they have, yada yada. But I'm basing all of these numbers on the kind of size that most people trade using these prop accounts. So anywhere from like one big contract to say 5 big contracts. That is what most retail traders are trading. And one big contract could be broken down to like 10 micros or below that. So if you're anywhere in that range, trading less than one big contract to like 5 big contracts, you do not need more than like $20,000 to $30,000 in your account. Even that much you don't even need. You could probably get away with $10,000 in your account if you're trading your own account. And then the remainder of that money could be in a retirement account or could be in a stock account, maybe selling options, generating income, maybe buying shares like Costco or something and generating dividends. You could even put that money in a money market account and generate 3 to 4% annually right now with zero risk. You could put it in T-bills, generating 3 to 4% risk-free. Now, obviously, as traders, 3 to 4% risk-free is not the greatest, but you get my point. By the way, here's the FOMC levels, 47, going up to 72. Keep an eye on the upper nodes at 40 and 37. As long as those hold, the trend is stable. A lot of bearish delta coming in on NASDAQ here. Yeah, but when people build up their futures accounts, they're doing it for like literally no reason. They like looking at the number. They like seeing that number go up. But that money sitting in your account is hurting you more than it's helping you. It's like having a massive amount of money sitting in your bank account with 0% interest. Especially right now, when money market accounts are paying you 4%, 3.5%. And money market accounts are not 100% risk-free, but they're pretty much risk-free. And then you have like T-bills that are pretty much risk-free and they're tax-advantaged. But T-bills are not very liquid. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go into a massive rant about that, but it's something that I think a lot of people in here need to understand. It's very important. This is not a vertical distribution. You can tell because the delta is now spiking. So now we're starting to see that delta spike. So like I said, if we did not see that delta spike around 40, that was the value high. We had the value high here of today and Friday. If you don't see a delta spike there and we keep seeing that weak bullish delta, it's probably going to curl back over and go back down, right? But now look at what we're seeing. We have that major delta spike on ES right above 40. So they are buying that breakout, possibly stopping people out on the way up as well. So as long as they keep holding these upper nodes, they're looking pretty good. This is a strong trend now. If the delta gets weak, if they start losing the upper nodes, then we'll talk about it as it's happening. Yeah, those are definitely not dividend stocks, profit, because those are like risky plays, right? Those are not places that you would just park your money and be happy. Those are places where you would park your money and be monitoring it every day. Yeah, there's cycles in the market, right? So when you get to these cycles where the quote unquote risk-free assets are paying very high percentages, you do not want to have a lot of money just sitting in your like futures trading account or even like your stock account. If your money's just sitting in your stock account not doing anything, there are certain brokers like Robinhood. Robinhood, the gold program pays you a money market fee for your money that's sitting in your account that's not invested. And a lot of brokers have started to pick up on that. So if you have one of those brokers, then having your money sitting in your account uninvested is actually not a bad thing because you're being paid money market fees. But if you're not being paid money market fees, then you need to be putting that money somewhere, right? You don't want to just sit it in a stock account and not get paid when it could be sitting in, like I said, risk-free assets, quote unquote, T-bills, money market. And what I was saying about cycles, the market has cycles, right? So it goes high rates, low rates, high rates, low rates. So when you have these cycles of high rates, these treasuries and money market accounts or whatever it may be, they're paying very high percentages. When we go back to low rates, they're not going to be paying anything, right? Maybe 1 or 2%. They'll keep up with inflation. Goes back to what I was talking about last week. By the way, keep an eye on this note here. This note at 54 is being held by the sellers. Last week I was talking about for the people that wanted to go full-time, which I don't recommend. I don't recommend going full-time. But the people that are like adamant about doing it, you need to have money saved up to protect yourself, right? Pay your bills, pay your expenses, whatever it may be. You don't want to have money like that sitting in a bank account where it's not paying you anything. People have this weird like connection with like money market accounts and stuff, and they think that they're illiquid. They're not a liquid, right? You can put money in a money market account and pull it out pretty aggressively if you need to. Just be sure you're putting it into the right account. There are certain money market accounts that do not let you move your money around. They are illiquid. But having that money that's like an emergency fund or something, money that you don't want to touch, that should be in a interest earning account that at least keeps up with inflation. And inflation right now, we're talking 3%, 4%, who knows, right? So if you have like your emergency fund, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, few months, whatever it may be, and that's money that you don't want to touch, it should not be sitting in your bank account getting killed by inflation. It can be in a bank account, in a money market account, right? Something that at least keeps up with inflation, 3 to 4%. 4% is a little high nowadays. You might be lucky to get 3. Just make sure that it's not something you can't pull money out of. You can't withdraw. Like bank CDs, those are locked. You can't pull money out of those. But yeah, I am not a financial advisor. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Talk to a professional. These are just things that I do that I'm letting you guys know about. Going all the way back to the start of the rant, long story short, you don't need to have $1 million in your futures account. Treat your futures account, even if it is a personal account, the same way you would treat a prop account. You build it up, you take a payout. You build it up, you take a payout. Okay, we have lost that top node. We'll see if we lose that 46 node here. No pattern up here, just kind of losing steam. Could be trying to repair the 30-minute candle, but it is very early. We have 20 minutes left on that 30-minute close. Alex, that's completely up to you, man. If you want to trade overnight, then you would need to have overnight margin. And the overnight margin goes up massively. So let me actually clarify that. Everything I was just saying about futures was referring to day trading. If you hold contracts overnight, the margin goes up massively. Like not even relatively close. It goes from like $500 to I think like $15,000. It's like $12,000 to $15,000, depending on the contract. But yeah, give or take somewhere around 12,000. So yes, in that case, you would have to have the money in your account to match your contracts. But if you're day trading, it's like non-existent. We've lost the second node. Are we losing the third node? Keep it on that 24 EMA at 44 here. Delta is still extremely weak on NASDAQ. They never had that surge that ES had. Yeah, I would never go straight into full time. Like that was the old way of doing it. That's just not the way it is anymore. Or sorry, not full time. I meant to say into your own account. I would never jump into your own account. I would never start with your own account. You're just begging to lose money if you do that. And if you hate these funding programs, then just do a paper account or something like that. Now, I would say paper accounts nowadays, they're not really helpful. They don't really give you the emotional stress that trading actually gives you. Right. The funding programs have this really weird feeling where you know it's a sim, but for some reason your brain like treats it like a real account. So you still have that emotional tie to trading. Yeah, you're just begging to lose money if you're like, all right, I'm going to start trading futures and just throw money into your own account. Good luck. It wasn't as scary back in the day, like 5-10 years ago, because the volatility wasn't as high. So like the moves were very slow, so you could kind of fix your mistakes a lot easier, but nowadays you can't really fix your mistakes too much. The volatility is very fast. Not a good sign. My throat is shot on Monday. Not a good sign. Yeah, ZB is really slow. Excuse me. No, I don't trade bonds too much. Funny thing is, if you guys were watching my stream, what was it, like 2 years ago? Possible rollover top here. It's a very weird rollover top. It's a bit more aggressive than we would like to see. But if you guys were watching the stream a couple of years ago, we had this whole strategy planned out. We were getting ready to trade bonds. We had this pattern that we liked. We were getting ready to trade it. And then, like, I think it was like the same week We had our accounts all ready to go, and the pattern just like disappeared. The pattern just stopped happening. It was one of those like those edge cases where you needed to trade it like immediately. Good morning, Tom. I appreciate that, David. 13 minutes until this candle closes. They will create single prints going down to 43 if it does not repair. EOC shifting to the high very quickly. EOC also shifting above Friday's value. This might be a rollover top that hasn't put in the middle stage yet. So like you have the first high here, we might have a weak high and then a lower high. We'll see if it does that. That's kind of what it's looking like. We'll see if it fails here, because here's the breakout. Is this going to be a weak high, or is it going to be a strong high where they actually hold the value up here? Yeah, we do have those single prints. I think we repaired the ES one. Yeah, we did. We do have the NASDAQ ones, though. Big spike in bullish delta here, possibly taking out some stop losses. Nice little cluster there at mid-50s. So if it stalls right here and then starts putting in a lot of sell pressure, we might be in a rollover top. But that's a pretty strong push. Typically when you put in the weak high on the rollover, you don't want it to have a big spike in delta. So this would be like if we say the push up is it's like ABCD, right? Not an Elliott wave, but like in the rollover top. So the impulse up would be A, the weak high would be B, then the lower high would be C, and then go down, right? Don't know if this is a weak high, though. The delta is pretty damn good. They also held that rebound there. They rebounded into it and then bounced off it immediately. We're back into the FOMC levels, by the way. FOMC goes to 72. The opening range of it. What do the single prints on NASDAQ go up to that you guys are watching? Oh, they're right here. Yep. The single prints go up to pretty much exactly where we are right now. We're doing our favorite thing. Every time it goes to fill in single prints, what does it do? It creates new ones. So we filled in the old ones, we're creating new ones. Tesla's up 8%. Did they have like deliveries or something today? Oh, the robo taxis, that's right. I don't know if I would I don't know if I'm at that stage with robots that I'd feel safe with the car driving me, but I mean they're probably statistically safer than humans. But that's hard to say because we don't have a scale. It's not an equal scale, right? What are you going to do, like per capita? Per capita, how many robo taxis get into accidents? I'm debating on whether this is a weak high or this is turning into a vertical distribution. Because if you bounce off the 24 here, the next point, the next level up is either that lower high, which puts in the rollover top, or it starts to ignore short signals and goes into a vertical distribution. And we're at that point where it's one or the other, and it's hard to predict which one it is. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, so with the robo taxis, are they only like for the cities, or do they go on the highways and stuff too? Is it just for driving you around the cities? Because I could see that. I could see it just doing the cities. Keep an eye on this 30-minute close. We have 5 minutes left, and it will create single prints going down to 42. CNN quoting a senior Iranian official: "The war may last 2 years, and we are prepared for that." WhatsApp has been banned on House staffers. And hasn't WhatsApp been like heavily leaked and broken into for years now? I can't believe they were allowed to use it at all. Yeah, I'm curious the impact that it will have on Uber, like as that gets widely adopted, right? Because that was Uber's goal. Does Uber still have that goal, or did they scrap that? Because I remember when they first IPO'd and they started getting pretty popular, they were talking about their goal of basically the robo-taxi stuff. It's unfortunate for people that drive for Uber because they're basically funding their own replacement. I guess you could say the same thing in pretty much every single tech company nowadays. People that are designing these AIs are basically designing their replacement. Okay, this is the point where it has to decide, is it a rollover top or is it a vertical distribution? The 24 EMA should decide that. If it has a lot of buy pressure on this pullback, I would say into this node here. If it bounces off this node very aggressively, then it's probably a vertical distribution. If it doesn't, then the rollover top is still in play. For final confirmation, a very slow confirmation would be a break of the 24, then putting in another lower high. Unfortunately, look at what this level is. This 24 lines up with this node, which that node is the POC. This also lines up with the 30-minute candle repair. So this whole move down could just be repairing the candle. That goes down to 42. Bullish block protecting the POC there. Israeli military has issued an evacuation warning to all residents in Tehran. Yeah, I've seen they make turn errors every now and then. They also struggle. Here's the single prints, by the way. Single prints down to 43. They also struggle to see like I've noticed a bunch of videos where the kids like walk out. Like if a kid walks out kind of like in a crosswalk, or just like if there's a car on the side of the road and a kid is walking off the sidewalk where the car is kind of shielding it. The camera doesn't do a good job seeing that. But you could make the argument that humans do a very bad job seeing that as well, so it's not like one is bad and the other is good. That's the cash POC. So now Iran is calling out basically everybody. Iran said the US, Israel, UK, and France, and the IAEA director will bear the full responsibility for the death of innocent civilians in Iran. Now the British government is issuing a warning for the UK citizens in Qatar to shelter in place. It seems like these governments are ramping up for Iran's response. They might have a response against the US or its allies sometime today. I saw some like rumors spreading that like people were worried that Iran was going to bomb like New York or like a US city. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I do not think Iran has the capabilities to reach the US. Obviously, they can with sleeper cells, but not with missiles. I don't think they have missiles that even could reach the United States. Yeah, they're not attacking Qatar directly. It would be our military bases there. But yeah, I do see what you mean. The British government saying the UK citizens in Qatar. They're probably just saying, like, if Iran bombs our bases there. I'm pretty sure we have a base. One or two bases in that area. Good morning, hello. Good morning, James. They don't have the capability to reach us. Yeah, I don't think they do. Now, that will massively, I think, impact the markets. If there is a sleeper cell in the US that is activated, if there is a big terrorist attack on US soil, the market will 100% respond to that. The market's not really responding right now to what's going on. The market seems like it doesn't care. It will 100% respond to a homeland attack. I'm not trying to push fear. You guys know me. I'm not a fear monger. I don't like pushing this perma fear bias. I'm just trying to give you guys a plan, right? Qatar has the biggest US base in the area. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not too informed on like where all the bases are in that area. I just know we have like 30 to 50,000 troops over there spread out among those countries. But yeah, just be prepared. Like I said, I don't think it's immediate or anything like that, but if it does happen, even on a small scale, the market will most likely react bearishly to that. How much? I wouldn't say massively. It's not going to be like a 10, 20% drop, but it'd probably be anywhere from like 2 to 5%, depending on how major it is. Yeah, that's about all I'll say. You guys know I hate talking about stuff like this. I don't like to push negativity or fear or anything like that. Keep an eye on the 24 EMA here, putting in a lower high right above that 24. If it breaks this low, possibly looking for VWAP at 39, also would line up with retesting the single prints at 42. Yeah, World War III before GTA 6. The GTA 6 memes are hilarious. It's like everything is happening before that game comes out. I think it comes out, didn't they postpone it? It was supposed to come out this year, but it's coming out next year now. At this point, they should just play into the meme and just call it GTA 7. GTA 7 before GTA 6. I think that would be hilarious. I think that would be a fantastic marketing gimmick. Imagine how much free marketing they would get from that, but they don't. It's GTA. They don't need marketing. It's like one of the top selling video games of all time. No, Cotton, I haven't been reading too much recently. I need to read that damn Dalton book. I still haven't finished that Dalton book. I think I'm only like a quarter or a third through it. All right, here's that lower high, 24 EMA being lost. Keep an eye on that 42 level here. 42 is from the single prints, then going down to 39, which is VWAP. Or closer to 40 now. Oh, it's saying the UK issued that alert in Qatar because the US did. The US embassy issued the alert, so the UK just followed. GTA 5 is the second most sold video game after Minecraft. Gotcha. I'm surprised, like, well, I guess I was going to say Fortnite, but Fortnite's free to play. So I guess it wouldn't be sold. It would be, like, played. I think how much money they've generated, I'm assuming Fortnite's got to be, like, in the top 3. Still holding that P-shaped balance here. If it doesn't go much lower than this VWAP, you still have that P-shaped bullish bias. Best Loser Wins. Yeah, I think I've heard of that book. I haven't read that one, though. Another market that's not really carrying is gold. You'd assume gold would be up more than it is. Good morning, Tamer. That's the opening range of the FOMC, 47 to 72. The ECB president is making some statements right now about the conflicts causing a supply strain on oil. Doesn't seem to be impacting oil much. I don't go on vacation much. You guys see I only miss a few days a year typically. My last few vacations were Colorado, went to Vail. Vail's really nice. Had a fringe trip to Ocean City, Maryland. That was really nice. Weather was a little bit cold. Yeah, Cotton, you're not wrong. The shipping insurance to insure the vessels, a lot of them won't insure the vessels if they're going through those contested areas, which could also be the Red Sea coming up as well. Looks like we are turning into that vertical distribution here. If it can put a high above this level here, if it can hold above 53. It's the complete opposite of my style, Deb. Just not for me. I'm not trying to be like an influencer or anything like that. I don't even stream with a webcam, right? I've seen a lot of the finance channels do that. It's kind of weird to me, to be honest. They are protecting that high. Very weak sell pressure here. Unfortunately, it's the POC chop. A very slow movement. Just building up that POC node. There's one single print left open, possibly down to VWAP. Novo terminates Hims and Hers collaboration, citing Hims' illegal mass compounding and deceptive marketing. This is old news. It came out earlier this morning, but their stock's down like 30% or something. Let me see. Yeah, they're down 31%. Looking for VWAP here, 41. It's a very trendy day. It's definitely slowing down. The trend was a lot faster around the open. Single prints are filled in. Let's see if it can tap VWAP here. I'm not sure, Luis. I don't track that. You'd have to check Google on that one. All right, single prints are filled in. Here is the VWAP test. This was a rollover top. It was just an extremely slow one. So here's the VWAP target, the main target of the rollover top. Next target would be the next VWAP, and then finally the point of origin that started the impulse, which is way down here around 14. You haven't hit your VWAP target on NASDAQ yet. NASDAQ didn't really give you the rollover top pattern, unfortunately. It was more of a vertical distribution that came to an end. You can see the big difference right here in market structure around 1030. You started bouncing off that 24 and then broke out. You did not do that on ES. You put in a lower high there. Now they're back into the same market structure. They don't want to allow too much sell pressure back below 40 because not only are they going back into a rotation, but also they would be trapping this upper node. So it could be going back into Friday's rotation, and that would completely trap this upper node and possibly squeeze them out. Oil still not caring. We marked out a few point of origins last week. That same level that I marked out on TradingView, causing a bit of a sell-off here. Potential oil support around 71.50, 72. Another decent one around 65.50. No 30-minute low sweep there. It's the exact tick. Yeah, some people do say that, Alex. Some people like to target equal lows. It's kind of the same theory behind a poor low. The tape is very green. A lot of bullish delta off of VWAP. So far, very clean bounce off VWAP. This would be a bull flag in a VWAP where we like to trade the bear flags in a VWAP. This is pretty much the same pattern to the buy side. Now, like I say, the bear flag in a VWAP is a much better trade usually. But this one is working so far. Back into the POC chop here. Be careful. I need to mute for 1 minute. I'll be right back. This kind of looks like a little bit of a trap. The bounce is a little weak. If they can't stay above this 50 node here, this bounce looks like a kind of like a dead cat or a bear flag. You're kind of bear flagging into the POC here. All right, they're trying to hold above that node, that POC node at 50. We'll see if they can actually build another node up here. They have failed the last time here, and they failed the prior candles. Well, you can see the exhaustion on that high. Not really developing a strong node above 50. You had a decent node at 54, and that got quickly taken out. It also built up on the way down as well. A couple of Fed members today pushing for July cuts. Probably leading to some buy pressure. Good morning, Chuck. This candle failed to break that 30-minute low. We'll see if it can break this 30-minute high here. Coming up at 53. Trying to go back into that vertical distribution here. We'll see if it can hold on to the 24. Volume has fell off quite a bit. Opening candle 100,000, 98,000 on the next candle. Dropped down to 58. Now we're at 32. We still have some time left. Yeah, falling off very rapidly. Little bit of absorption above 50 here. A lot of bullish delta coming in. But it's not going anywhere. Well, the easy way to remember it is if you're moving up, it can only be a bear div. And if you're moving down, it can only be a bull div. So you could argue that that was a bull div into VWAP because the delta was pretty much flat. And then you could argue there's a bear div right here because our delta's going down. But yeah, easy way to look at it is if you're going up, you're only looking for bear divs. If you're going down, you're only looking for bull divs. And that little micro bear div with that absorption I was just talking about is leading to a bit of a sell-off here. Zero Hedge is posting that 6 super carriers, or what do they call them? Super tankers. They can hold upwards of 2 million barrels of oil. They made U-turns instead of going through the strait. It doesn't say they were like contacted or anything. They just on their own made U-turns. They didn't want to get stuck or get sunk, right? Goldman saying if oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz were to drop by 50% for 1 month and then were to remain down 10% for another 11 months, for so basically a whole year, they estimate oil would be trading at $110. That's a big prediction. Basically predicting if they were blockading the strait for a year. A senior Iranian political source, this is probably why we're selling off here, says that Iran is likely to attack U.S. military facilities in the coming hours. So look out for those headlines. I didn't see that, Tamer. I saw some tankers collided like a week ago. Yeah, I saw that. I saw they were jamming the signals, which makes it harder for the ships, which is possibly why they collided last week. Yeah, Gunk, that's the problem, man. That's the problem with these like wars. Is like, oh, I'm attacking you because you attacked me, and then I'm attacking you because you attacked me, but I'm attacking you. It's just never ending. Keep an eye on VWAP here, that little bear div, as well as that absorption leading to a bit of a sell-off here. There's also equal lows here, which traders like to target. Same mentality behind a poor low. They want to see if there's liquidity below that level. It's like a game, right? It's like, oh, you're protecting that level. There must be something that you don't want us to hit below that level. Back onto VWAP here. This is also where that equal low is. If it stays below this 40, keep an eye on that daily open around 25. Equal lows being tested here. Still single prints left open on NASDAQ, which just got filled in. Equal lows taken out. Here's VWAP on NQ. Tape is pretty green so far around that 40 level. A lot of buyers stepping in. Yeah, 40 is kind of the line in the sand right now. They really need to protect 40. So far, turning into a pretty fast sweep here. No problem, Dab. Hey, Angelo, have a good day, man. We'll see you tomorrow. So earlier we had headlines of airstrikes happening in South Lebanon. And they didn't really clarify what the target was. Now the IDF is saying that it was them attacking Hezbollah. So Hezbollah sites in South Lebanon being struck. Yeah, very good bounce off VWeb there. What's going on, Randall? No problem, man. The decision to strike the U.S. interest in the region has been... Oh, hold on, I lost the headline. The decision to strike U.S. interest in the region has been made, but senior officials and commanders are still holding consultations on precise targets. Source in Tehran. So yeah, it sounds like there will be strikes against military assets in the area within the next few hours. U.S. assets, I should say. Hey, Z, no problem, man. Okay, so that 30-minute candle closed, not breaking the high, getting absorbed, breaking the low, so we're still in that little downtrend here. Very sloppy downtrend. 40, very important level here. I was going to say yesterday, but Friday's value high. So rebounding into VWAP here and then selling on every rebound. If I zoom in there, you can see rebounded, sold, rebounded, sold. It sounds like they're preparing for the strike on the base in Qatar. Qatar Foreign Ministry announces the closure of its airspace until further notice. I'm assuming the attack on the US base in Qatar is imminent. Oh, it's absolutely insane how accurate Twitter or just like the internet is when it comes to like war stuff. I mean, it's also very inaccurate with like misinformation, propaganda, all that stuff. But like these types of headlines, just keeping track of like the embassy reports and the airspace reports, keeping track of the planes flying in the area, like all the little open source information that the internet has is just insane. And you saw that with the US bombing of the military sites. They were using that as like a deception. That's why they said they were moving the B 2 bombers to like Guam, right? People were tracking all these different, um, what do they call them? The tankers, the flying tankers, not the tankers, the ships, the flying tankers. What do they call them? Strato tankers or something like that. People were tracking those leaving the US bases and everything. It's just insane, actually, how much information that is open. And then you have these open source satellites that go around the Earth, right? And you can see all these open source images. It is quite insane that you can watch this war stuff play out live on Twitter. Here's a decent map by Reuters. Of all of our assets in the area. So obviously air bases, naval, outpost, radar. So we have quite a lot. Mostly around the Persian Gulf, right? And then obviously around Israel. So if you guys are unfamiliar, this is the Strait of Hormuz. This is the Persian Gulf. And I think this is called the Gulf of Oman. So the strait connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. And then this is where the Houthis try to affect the shipping lane. So you have this shipping lane here that gets affected, and then you have this shipping lane here that gets affected. This is the one that 20% of the world's oil supply flows through, but it's mostly to over here, obviously, to Asia. Goes to China, South Korea, Japan. Which is really bad for Japan. Because Japan has, like, no natural... they don't have a lot of natural oil in Japan, in their territory. They rely on imports, which is a history lesson, which is what happened in World War II, right? AOD, enjoy your time, man. So the base in Qatar is the forward headquarters for the U.S. Central Command. Has around 10,000 troops. Big sell-off. The attack might be happening. Keep an eye on VWAP here. Yeah, Sola, here's the link. I'll post it on YouTube for you guys as well if you want that link. This has details on all of our bases in the area. Bloomberg saying satellite images show that the U.S. Air Force intentionally avoided hitting reactors at the Isfahan Nuclear Technology and Research Center during its attack on Iran's nuclear program. They're saying that Qatar closing its airspace is affecting a lot of flights right now. Keep an eye on the session VWAP, and then below that, we're watching the open. What are you talking about, Tamer? Mostly Europe? What's mostly Europe? Yeah, Dab. I love looking at the this breakdown here because you can just very easily see the shift in value. It's kind of similar to what I do here in the morning and the afternoon. You can just see the shift in value. So right now we're shifting our value to the upside a bit here. And then on Friday we had a break of the low. Actually, no, sorry. This was a ignore this profile. That's the holiday one. So it's combining the holiday. I don't see any headlines of any attacks right now. It's just headlines about the airspace. It seems like they're getting pretty close. I think the problem with like trying to predict what's going to happen next is it really depends on how successful their attack is. Like if they attack one of our bases in the area and they kill a bunch of US soldiers, then obviously the US is going to respond. If they try to attack the base and we shoot down all their missiles and kind of nothing happens, we might not respond, right? So it really depends on the outcome of this attack. Which is why, once again, I try not to predict, we try to react. We're in the danger zone here, the chop zone between the VWAPs. Still holding on to that VWAP on NQ. The delta on NASDAQ did a better job this morning kind of keeping that down move. You had a big impulse in bullish delta on ES, which is now trapped. NASDAQ stayed pretty bearish the entire time. Dalton's doing a webinar at 12. Funny enough, I've actually not watched like any of his online stuff. Oh, Dab, you mean the purple one that I have? You're talking about this one? Yeah, this one is really good. Yeah, you guys don't see this one too much on stream because I typically end the stream before the purple profile comes into play. But we talk about this damn near every single day on Discord. I'm always referring back to the afternoon breaks and the levels that we're looking for the afternoon pullback into the morning. It's extremely good. I mean, I've shown it time and time on stream. I'm not going to do it again, but you can just look at it and you can just tell the afternoon breaks are like 99% of the time they are retraced. I think I do have a video on this. I'm pretty sure. I have shorts on it. I don't know if I have like a long video. But I did some shorts on it. Yeah, I could probably make a video. I didn't make a teaching video this weekend. So I probably need to make one this Saturday. So we'll do some recaps this week, and then I'll do a teaching video this weekend. No, it's not the overnight fade. That's a different strategy. That's the other profiles. This is the after. Well, it's kind of the afternoon fade. Pretty much the same thing, but in the afternoon. It's in a video where I cover multiple topics. That's probably what it is. Yeah, there's a lot of good Momo signals today. I'm just not really talking about all of them. We had one of our combos right here. We had the bottom with the pivot. We had another one right here, but it ended up giving you a stair-step pivot. So you had a nice little sell right there. And now we have a little bit of a bull div, so we're trying to see if this bull div wants to play out. And then on the high, we had a very obvious bear div, which we did talk about at the time. Very obvious bear div there. And then on the low, we also had another combo. Little two-piece combo. Blue pivot with the purple bottom warning. That's the strongest signals when they combo together. When the Momo combos with the OTS. Which is exactly what we designed them to do. We designed them to combo together. The reason the OTS, the Oasis Trading Suite, relies so heavily on volume data, it's because the Momo does not care about volume. There is no volume calculation that goes into the Momo. The Momo is purely price action. So the OTS we designed to fit that that hole in the Momo. The Momo has a hole that it doesn't look at volume data. So we needed an indicator that heavily relies on volume data, which is the OTS. The OTS cares about price action, but it heavily relies on volume. Which is why, like I always say, if you learn how to use both of them, it's a very powerful combo because, like I said, they're designed to combo together. No, it's not MACD. It's not anything that you would know. It's an indicator that I created. It's called the Momo. It's short for momentum. Now, my Momo looks different if you guys have the Momo. I have the exact same settings that you guys have. I just changed the visuals to make it easier to talk about on stream. The settings and the calculation, exactly the same. It's just the colors that are different. Hey, Mac, welcome to the Discord, man. You should have access to the indicators, Mac. If you don't, let me know. Unless you joined, like, recently. Like, if you just joined. What settings do I have for VWAP? I don't recommend ever changing the settings for VWAP. VWAP should be default. And I use both VWAPs. I used the daily VWAP and the session VWAP. So both starting points. You joined on Friday? If you joined on Friday, you should have access to them. Yeah, if you don't see them in your invite only, just send me a message on Discord. Yeah, there's a lot of channels in Discord. Be sure to check the channel guide. There's a channel called Channel Guide, and it talks about like what's in every channel. The main channel that I'm posting in pretty much all day, every day is the analysis channel. And then obviously we have the trading floor where I'm talking in voice chat and I'm streaming. And then we have a couple of teaching channels. There's trading tips. There's the playbook channel. There's like lessons at the bottom of Discord. The OTG learning section that has a couple of lessons in there. Yeah, check the channel guide. It talks about all that. Airspace over Qatar has been cleared. There are no planes in Qatar now. Here comes VWAP, a lot of bearish delta trading at 34 to 35. A lot of bearish delta, still getting some. Yeah, Qatar is planning for an attack. Americans evacuated planes from the base in Qatar in advance. Satellite images confirm. I don't think it was in our last screenshot, so let me show you here. So here's Iran, obviously. Here's the Persian Gulf that we were talking about. There's the Strait of Hormuz. That's the Gulf of Oman. There's Dubai. Qatar is right here. So this area right here, there's a bunch of U.S. assets. That's usually where our 5th Fleet is. They're stationed. I mean, if they're stationed there, obviously they're not just sitting there. Yeah, Bahrain and Qatar, a lot of U.S. assets in this area. So the missile strike obviously would be very easy. I don't know the distance, but I think that's even closer than Israel. Pretty sure it is. So Twitter probably wouldn't even be fast enough to see those strikes. Because from Iran to Israel, it takes about 10 minutes, depending on, obviously, the type of missiles. So they can launch them. You get all the tweets that missiles are in the air. It takes a few minutes, then you start hearing the tweets about them landing. I don't even know if you'll get that with Qatar. They're so damn close. Yeah, Roger, that's the problem with war. We saw the same thing with Ukraine and Russia. The headlines would just constantly contradict each other.
That's why when you ever have like peace headlines coming out, you need to hear it from both sides. We kept getting those peace headlines last week, and then we were waiting on the Iranian response, and Iran basically said that there were no peace headlines. Like there were no talks going on. US base in Qatar closing its airspace as well. Turkish companies now canceling all flights over the United Arab Emirates. Seems like all nations in that area are preparing for an attack. These headlines are very important to keep an eye on because this is the open source data that I was talking about. Like airspace is being closed, where all the planes are, all that stuff is pretty much open source. Meaning that like an everyday person can see that information. And it's pretty much up to date. Yeah, you see that too. You see the nations actually announcing their strikes as well. Obviously, if it's not a stealth attack, kind of like the American attack. Like Israel and Iran have been back and forth saying that, oh, we're launching missiles. Okay. They're telling them ahead of time. They're telling them to evacuate their cities and whatnot. The market is obviously pricing in an attack. We are down 30 points from the high. That all started from the headlines about the airspace being closed. Okay, we are back into prior day's value. Look for 23 and 06. Same thing on NASDAQ, back into the prior day's value, which is Friday. 840 and 770. I'll stream a little bit longer today because I do have to leave early today. For you guys that are in Discord, I won't be streaming in the afternoon. I do have to leave in about 45 minutes to an hour, so I'll stream for a little bit longer. And then I do have to call it. I'm going to try to make it back before the close, but I'm not sure how long I'll be gone. I love all these headlines that are coming out about oil, and it's barely even moving. Look at the 5-minute on oil. It's barely moving at all. You're just stuck in the same range. I mean, these moves are pretty big, I guess. That's like a dollar move. The moves are about $1 each way. Trying to sweep the low here, like I said, stuck in that danger zone between the VWAPs. Bouncing from one VWAP to the other. Hey, Unleash, have a good day, man. Saudi Air Force is prepared and on high alert. United Arab Emirates is planning to shut down its airspace. Great timing. I'm probably going to be away from the desk when this happens. Yeah, oil is pretty expensive per tick. Well, it's per penny, basically. A penny is a tick. I would assume most retail guys are not trading the large contract. It's too much right now. Most retail are definitely trading MCL. These are $1,000 moves. Every dollar's $1,000. You know what I want to do? It might be a little too much. Here, actually, no, we shouldn't do that. You know, one thing that I don't like about Addis that I wish was a lot easier is I wish I could just clone this window. And because some windows have the clone button, but some don't. Like, I wish I could just, like, right-click here and clone. Isn't there a clone button here? Am I losing my mind? No, there isn't. Just right-click in the middle of the template. Oh, there you go. I knew it was somewhere. Thank you. I was gonna say I knew I did it before. I just couldn't find it. Oh, I just changed all my charts. Great. Okay, so I take away my complaint. Addis had it figured out. All right, sorry. What I was doing was I was trying to add a tape here for oil because oil will be the first to react, I think, if there is an attack. It'll probably beat the equities. Let's actually take the filter off. Let's just let it go. Sorry, my screen's turning into the Matrix. I've got too many charts on it. All right, we need to filter out these bots, these one contract bots. I've noticed sometimes if you add a filter onto your tape, you do need to change the ticker and then change it back sometimes because it gets like glitched. Okay, that should be good. So whenever you add a filter, just change the ticker, change it back. Because sometimes it will just get stuck. Holding on to VWAP pretty strong here at 31. Yeah, Dave, it gets rid of the bots and the retail traders that only trade one contract. Like, even if you don't want to add a serious filter to your tapes, you usually want to filter out the smallest contract size, which is obviously usually one. Just to get rid of those like high frequency trading bots. Well, I mean, not getting rid of all of them, but getting rid of a bulk of them. So what's a major level in oil we need to keep an eye on? Probably just the whole dollars, 75, 76, 72. Yeah, mostly just the whole dollars. Trailing below the 24 EMA here. Prices, I mean. Price keeps hitting it and then trending below it. Now China, excuse me, sorry. Now China is urging its citizens in Qatar to avoid the airbase. Seems like the market is still pricing in a potential attack here. GPS disruptions affecting Qatar and neighboring Gulf nations. It seems like the old meme with my channel is coming back to life here. It's going to line up perfectly with me leaving. Like every time I step away, something crazy happens and headline comes out. It's like back in the day when I was trading crypto, we'd be in the Discord like almost 24/7. And I'd be like, all right, guys, I'm going to see a movie or something. I'm going out to dinner. And the second I leave, it's like some crazy headline happens and everything starts moving. Just terrible timing. It was like how I had, we used to joke that, like, when my head hits the pillow, crypto starts moving. Because I stayed up till like 7 a.m. one day. We were trading in Discord. And I was like, all right, guys, nothing's happening. I'm finally going to sleep. And I went to bed. And like, I shit you not, like, the second I laid down, it was the largest move in crypto's history within a 15-minute candle. It was the largest 15-minute Bitcoin move in the entire history of Bitcoin. That was pretty funny. Yeah, ordinary. They were threatening that like major attack on Israel that just never happened. Yeah, an alert service when I go to bed, exactly. U.S. officials saying the Trump administration is preparing for an Iranian attack on U.S. Gulf bases. This is a prime example of the market pricing something in. Like the market has gone down 30 points from the high, but nothing has happened yet. They're just preparing for the attack. Bearish delta is still flooding in. Big cluster at 35, another big cluster at 30. Another funny thing you see during stuff like this, like during headlines like this, when they're like pricing something in very one directionally, they love to do it in a systematic way, like every 5 points, every 10 points. Cluster at 35, cluster at 30. We'll see if they put one in at 25. Right now, it's very hard to be a buyer because you're buying against headlines. This is not a very technical move. This is just moving because of headlines. Oil breaking the whole dollar, breaking 74. Oil's not really at a bullish level, like not a breakout point until you get to like 76, 78. So Trump is meeting with his national security advisors in 45 minutes. So maybe they don't expect there to be an attack in the next 45 minutes. We'll see. I mean, like I said, that lines up exactly with me leaving the house. So that's the most alpha you need. Good morning, Mauser. All right, here's 25. Do they put another note at 25? Every 5 points? It looks like they're already starting. There's the delta coming in. Gold is slowly going up. It's like the opposite trend. You have an inverse correlation right now. It's up about 1%. There is nobody buying. You're not even getting that much bearish delta, like at least down here. I mean, there's a decent amount. Like every single tick is bearish, but it's not like an insane amount. It's just because nobody's buying. People are afraid of this attack. Here comes the POC of Friday, then the value low of Friday would be the main target. You've already hit the POC target on ES, value low is 06. It's hard to see on stream, but if I zoom in, look at this. Every single tick is negative. They're not green since the headlines started coming out. The headlines started coming out damn near high of day. It's down 40 points since then. And by the way, if you somehow were still holding that rollover top trade, which I highly doubt anybody was, but if you somehow were, here's that point of origin target. So VWAP target, point of origin target. Like I said, I highly doubt anybody was still holding that, but if you were. Now France is saying Iran will hit the US bases in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates in the coming hours. Still seeing the delta every 5 points. There's the delta at 25. Here's more delta coming in at 20. Very systematic. Look at oil. Oil's still going up. There's an oil tape down here. It's at 413 now. Iran is moving missile launchers into place for a potential attack on U.S. forces in the Middle East in response to the surprise attack, the surprise American strike on 3 nuclear sites over the weekend. The DoD is tracking a credible threat to the U.S. forces in the region. This is a Wall Street Journal reporter, by the way. Yeah, Elsie, they're preparing at pretty much all of the bases in the area. They just highly assume it's going to be the Qatar base. A very stable trend. Down 40 points from the high when these headlines started coming out. This is why it's important to watch headlines during conflicts like this. Yeah, English, it's really weird that they do this, but you can't really hide it nowadays. I mean, you can hide certain things. Like I said, You have stuff like the US doing their mind games and then having their stealth attack. You can't hide too much. Very aggressive, staying below the 80 MA. I'd be very careful being a buyer right now, guys. You're pretty much the only one. There's nobody buying. The only buying you're seeing is take profits. Or low if it stalls there, needs to go down 2 more points. Iran's Tehran province of Parand has started activating its air defenses. Iraq says there's heavy aerial activity over Baghdad. No problem, Tommy. Okay, here comes the final target of the rotation, the retrace, I should say, at 06. Holding below 06 is very dangerous. There's not a whole lot protecting you below 06. Same thing for NASDAQ going below 773. Nothing below that to protect you. Poor low repaired. Here's that nice whole number at 6K. I mean, look at this 1 minute trend. It's just disgusting. Very clean. Iran is preparing to fire missiles at American bases in the coming minutes. I can put my headlines on screen, but unfortunately it's going to block the oil tape and the NASDAQ tape. I'm just using my Twitter feed. If you guys follow my Twitter, go to my news list. Oh, here you go. Explosions heard over the Qatar capital of Doha. And this is exactly what I said earlier, that we were not going to get the headlines saying that they launched missiles and they were in the air, and then we would have to wait for 10 minutes. They're far too close to Qatar. Yeah, missiles landing. Israeli official says they counted 6 missiles attacking the U.S. base in Qatar. Funny enough, oil is going down. Air defense activity reported over, I think it's pronounced Doha. I don't really know how to pronounce that. Doha? Doha? No idea. I'm probably butchering that. Where is Doha? Doha, Qatar. It is Doha? Okay, gotcha. I'm just getting lucky with these. Okay, Doha is the eastern, it's on the eastern border that touches the, I mean, all of Qatar touches the Persian Gulf, but the eastern border of it. It's on the eastern side right here. Doha is the only city really in Qatar where all people are living. Gotcha. Do you know where the base is around there, Roger? Is it like north of there? Looks like the market is reacting bullishly because we're not getting any reports of any serious damage or anything. It's 32 kilometers away southwest of the city center. Gotcha. West of the center. Gotcha. There is a little video, but you can't really see anything. I think they're being shot out of the sky, which is why the market is reacting bullishly. I don't see any reports of them landing. Keep an eye on the 24 EMA here. Turning into a ridiculous 30-minute wick, which is bouncing right off that level they needed to hold. They need to hold the value low of Friday. It's sweeping it, but it is holding it. You guys can find my news feed on my Twitter. My Twitter is down here at the bottom. Just follow my Twitter, go to my list, and there's one called News. I've created a news feed of a bunch of the other news providers just kind of tacked together. Bear flag into VWAP. Keep an eye on VWAP here. Like I said, the market is recovering because we're not getting any headlines of any damage. The bases in Iraq are also being attacked. There is impact, your brother is saying. Yeah, I don't see any screenshots or anything just yet. Only one missile reported in Iraq. Oil is dropping. Look at oil here. Down to 72. It's down almost $2. I'm assuming if it was just one missile in Iraq, it's probably not directly from Iran. It's probably from a proxy. Yeah, so it's really hard to see. I'll show you this image. These are like puffs of smoke. So probably the missiles being blown up by air defense. Yeah, very hard to see in that image. U.S. forces and Iraq bases going into their shelters, their bomb shelters. Ordinary, mine is live, so it should be live. Oh, you're looking at it on the list page. If you're looking at it on the list page, I think you have to refresh it. If you're looking at it on Twitter Pro, like the TweetDeck version, it refreshes it automatically. So it's live. So if you have Twitter Pro, you can do it like this. Where I have the news feed, where it will just come in live. Of course, right when I put it on screen, there's no headlines coming in. Okay, bear flag in the VWAP here. Let's keep an eye on the delta on ES. We'll see if they get a lot of bullish delta up here. Yeah, if you don't have Twitter Pro, I think you have to refresh it, unfortunately. No, actually, what you can do, I think, I don't know how it looks. Let me see 1 second. Yeah, so I think you can do this. Or if you have your Twitter pulled up, you see at the top where it has your list, you should be able to click news and it should refresh automatically here. I'm trying to see if it refreshes. Actually, I don't think it does. Yeah, so I think you might have to have Twitter Pro. Yeah, you got to pay that. What is it, $8 a month? So far, bear flag and the VWAP is holding here. Here's that support I was talking about on oil. Big support around 72. Yeah, just another monthly fee. Yeah. Death by 1,000 subscriptions. Not usually, Jim, because that'd be like spy trading. That'd be like the spy gap, the cash gaps. Supposedly, Iran is launching more missiles now. That bear flag in the VWAP is probably going to play out. We'll see here. I can't stay for too much longer. I'm kind of pushing it here. Just great timing on my part. And you guys are seeing why I don't leave my house and I don't do anything. I just become a workaholic because my timing is terrible. Trump having his security meeting in 10 minutes. Yeah, new missiles being launched. Should be hearing about either interception or impact any minute now. They are very close, so you don't have to wait that 10 to 15 minutes. US scrambling jets. If you guys enjoy the stream, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. We did break 20,000 subscribers today. I appreciate all the support on YouTube. You guys are awesome. I do typically stream Monday through Friday. We start around 9:15 in the morning. I typically end around 11:30 to 12. We are streaming a little bit late today. Yeah, we'll be doing some giveaways this week for hitting that 20K milestone. So look out for that. Not going to do one today. I don't have time, unfortunately. Possibly on the recap video. I'm going to keep this on oil because I'm mainly watching ES on the 1 minute and on the tape right now anyway. I'd say if there were no impacts on the first launch and there's no impacts on the second launch, the market's probably going to break VWAP to the upside. Just depends on how much air defense the US has in that area. And those hypersonic missiles are damn near impossible to intercept. They're very hard to intercept. I think it's very clear that Iran has lost a lot of its launchers because the amount of missiles it was launching at the start of this conflict compared to now, it's like night and day. Now, they could just be preserving their missiles or I don't know, their strategy, whatever they could be doing. But they were launching numerous missiles the first few days. Now they're launching like anywhere from 10 to 20 at a time. Yeah, they just launched another 10. And like you could argue they're just testing out the air defenses, they're figuring out where everything is, you know what I mean? But it's not looking too good. Oil starting to spike. We'll see if there's a reaction on ES here. A lot of action on oil here. Now it seems like they're attacking the base in Iraq more than Qatar. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It really depends on what happens here. Does it kill a lot of US soldiers or US assets, or do they just get intercepted? Because if they just get intercepted, you could almost just say, like, okay, let's call it there, but they're probably not going to. But the likelihood of peace is much higher if they just get intercepted, which is why oil is dropping like a rock right here. But if they do a bunch of damage, the likelihood of peace is basically not, it's not happening. But you can see basically as soon as the missiles started getting intercepted, oil just dropped like a rock. This would be a complete inverse chart if they were doing a ton of damage. More sirens in Bahrain and Kuwait. Okay, they are saying 3 missiles potentially landed in the US base in Qatar. Trump is currently in the Situation Room with his security advisors. But all right, guys, unfortunately, I do have to head out. It's terrible timing, but I do have to get going. I appreciate you guys being here. As always, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. I will be streaming tomorrow, same time, as always, around 9:15 in the morning. For you guys in Discord, I will not be streaming this afternoon. I will try to be back before the close, but I do not know how long it's going to take. So no promises there. But I will try to be back before that close. Most likely there will be a recap later today. So look out for that. If there is a recap, it will be probably pretty late. It will be probably around like 7 to 8 o'clock. So yeah, just look out for that. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use code BREW on Apex. I don't know what the deal is currently. Might be 80%, might be 50%. But it will give you a discount. You can check out Addis. There's a free trial down below. There's also a Discord link down below as well. And yeah, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you once again for 20K subscribers on YouTube. We finally hit that milestone. If you guys are in Discord, I will potentially see you guys before the close, but no promises. If you guys are not in Discord, I will catch you guys tomorrow, same time as always. Keep an eye on these next levels to the downside. Well, funny enough, there's not really any levels to the downside. You can fall down to 69 pretty easily. So keep an eye on 69. I put 59, I just realized, on the trade plan. Oh no, 59 is right. Yeah, 59. So 59 is that low. There's also a level at 69 as well. So level at 80, level at 59, level at 69. If it goes back up, you're just rotating Friday. Nothing crazy there. NASDAQ, same levels. Just watch the trade plan. 675, 566. And then to the upside, you're just rotating back to the value highs. But all right, guys. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe on the trading. There's a lot of headlines going out. If you guys need my news feed while I'm gone, go to my Twitter. It's at the bottom of the channel or bottom of the stream. Just follow that. Go to my list. Go to my news feed and just follow that news feed. But all right, guys. I'll potentially see you in Discord later today. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.